go after introduce me.
Just very briefly.
I'm Gayatri, I'm a part of FCTC.
Okay.
With Toastmasters for the last 8 months.
Okay.
The top 3 what we've noted down is TMOD taking more time.
More time, okay.
Not giving proper introduction to the speaker.
Okay.
And not explaining about the purpose or the proceedings of the meeting because the guests will be clueless about what's happening.
Ah, okay. Is this just for the guests or for everyone? Particularly the guests?
Particularly the guests.
Okay. Not briefing guests on meeting format, etc. Okay, you mean that the meeting is divided into 3 portions. First is prepared speech. So, but let's give the team one round of applause. So jump to this side. Okay, closing remarks not at the end of the meeting only, but at the end of each speech. Okay. Okay, so this is not just towards the guests alone, but on the whole, make the meeting a bit more interactive, a bit more engaging. Okay. Looks like I'm running out of marker ink. Interactive. Super. The team in the middle. Yes, sir.
They try to dump in more information than what is
Then what is required? Okay. So something that closely fits along with more time and also less interactive. They try and give a prepared speech for the day, right? Try and hog the stage. Not like Ganesh who's done it really well today. But in general, hog the stage. Okay.
And sometimes the last minute dropouts from PMO.
Okay, last minute dropouts. Whose responsibility is that? Toastmaster of the day is expected to handle last minute dropouts. Okay. Ah, okay. Okay. Brilliant. That is something that happens, right? Especially for TMOD role. Because it's a very high pressure role, you may not have prepared for the role or you get a bit nervous. That is one of the reasons. Sometimes you may be sick and therefore you don't make it to the meeting. But that is something that's a big cause of concern, especially when you don't appoint someone to replace you.
And PMO generally sometimes he won't prepare himself before the meeting. Like just 1 minute before the session, he will ask the speaker to send the intro about him.
Okay.
Those kind of
Okay, so poor preparation, which leads to a lot of these issues, right? Poor time management, poor introduction, etc. As a result of poor preparation. Very good point. Team at the back, someone raise their hand, will come to you, sir.
And one more thing is before calling the speaker on the stage, he sometimes forgets to call the evaluator for the intro.
Okay.
About the objectives.
Protocol not followed. Super.
We have one unique point in addition to all this.
Ah, okay. Let's hear it.
So sometimes the PMO forgets to ask the evaluator to read the objective of the before speaking.
Okay, I think the same point was mentioned here. Brilliant. Very good point though. Nice point. Yes.
Sometimes the TMOD mispronounces or gives the wrong speech title which the speaker was going to speak on. Maybe that title was important to his speech and that messes up his whole speech.
Okay, yeah. So I've seen that a lot. Either the title is messed up or the title is not read out at all, right? Which is equally bad.
And even the order of it, Toastmaster name, Toastmaster, even that order is sometimes.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. The order and the protocol both go hand in hand. How do you call out? Now, how many of you believe that in your normal regular club meetings, you should follow the format of saying, say Toastmaster Kalyan, his speech title is my biggest achievement. My biggest achievement, Toastmaster Kalyan. How many of you think that is how a speaker should be called out in your regular club meetings? Right? So this is the normal international speech format or the speech contest format of following out. But you need not strictly follow it. You need to ensure that you mention the title and the name of the speaker, and it should be audible to everyone. If you have said it once, it will normally suffice, right? You don't need to repeat it again. For a speech contest format, this is very important to repeat it twice, because everyone should understand what it is about and bring the speaker on stage. For the club meeting, you can do either option. I just say it once, or you can say it twice, whichever works best in terms of maintaining that energy and ensuring everyone has heard who the speaker is and what they're going to speak about. Good point. Yes.
Actually, the main thing which the MOD has to perform is about giving introduction about the theme of the day. Sometimes they are not giving the proper introduction about the theme of the day, as well as they are not stressing the word of the day. They are missing it out.
Okay. Super. So not just the proper introduction of the speaker, but actually of what the entire theme is of the day. And the second point you mentioned was?
Word of the day also.
Okay. Whose responsible is it to introduce the word of the day? Grammarian. So it varies from club to club. Most clubs, it is the grammarian's responsibility. Some clubs may delegate this to TMOD as well.
But sometimes if TMOD is using that word of the day itself, make like others also will follow the same.
Absolutely, that's a very good point, right? Set the tone for the meeting, right? If you yourself are using it, or if you are high energy, if you are applauding, if you are clapping, if you are smiling, people are bound to follow it. If you don't follow, don't expect others to use the word of the day as well. Very good point.
One more point.
Yes.
Like TMOD should conclude the overall presentation with the theme of the day itself. Sometimes that conclusion is missing.
Okay. And on a relative or related high, as in ultimately this is true for any speech and for the TMOD rule as well. You walked the meeting through a particular theme. Now elevate it to its peak, right? Conclude on what you've spoken about and leave the audience either inspired or having some information in their mind. Very good point. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Okay, can you give an example, madam? Let's give her a round of applause. It sounds like she's talking from personal experience. So I'd like to know the club, but very good point, right? Don't make the theme overcomplicated or something people cannot relate to at all. Right? Have something that is fun, something people can relate to, and try and build everyone on that particular theme. And make it relevant to the time period. So demonetization, while it's relevant, may be a bit difficult for some people to relate to. Point taken.
It's not for of course, but I was about to say the same thing. I mean, like, where the theme of the day, most of the time, most of the day, tells their own story where they cannot connect with the audience. You know?
Super,
it's
yeah.
up to a topic which is quite common.
Okay.
A person who is common where you can tell his story rather than your story.
Super.
For a long time.
This is a very good point. This is known as the Kolaveri team of the day. Right? So this person is very angry with the VP education. He has not been given a speech slot. This is his time to get revenge, him or her. Right. So now a lot of very valid points. Yes, Reena ma'am.
There's one thing that is very important in the Toastmaster of the day's rules is that the meeting has to start. Like it is started at a particular phase, and if the time taken is low, table topics master has to be indicated when the topics have to stop.
True.
Otherwise, they will go ahead and have their 20-minute slot, while we won't have time to. So
Excellent
we have
point.
to indicate how many more. We can say how more.
Excellent point, right. So this falls under the time management for the meeting, right? You should be in control for the entire meeting. And when and where you need to plug it, yeah.
That teamwork is important.
True. Right, like I hope it happens for me as well. So this is probably a sign that I have 10 minutes left, right? Marker. So have some cue with all the role players involved. Instruct the timer when they're supposed to raise the card. Make sure the speaker is aware where the timer is, and instruct the table topic speaker how you're going to discuss beforehand on when their time is up. So now we have seen a lot of these mistakes, right? And generally they can be classified or categorized into 3 groups.
I have one more point.
Yes, ma'am.
TMOD has to maintain a smile throughout the session.
Very valid point. Everybody has to maintain a smile throughout the session, right? So exactly like this particular person. Right? Now what happens is, as TMOD, right? This is a high pressure role. You have a script, things may have changed, maybe you're not prepared enough for the script. So the whole meeting you are engrossed only about yourself. and it shows in your face. And in most places, the TMOD sits either in the front or facing the entire audience. So it's up to you to have a smiling face. Make sure you're positive. The audience will reflect accordingly. So very good point. Make sure you have a smile on your face throughout the entire duration of the meeting. Exactly like this. Now, so generally they can be classified into three groups. One is poor or no introductions, poor engagement or energy throughout the meeting, and poor time management. All of these can be classified into these three groups. So now we'll tackle them one by one, right? And let's make this very interactive because your collective wisdom is definitely 1,000 times more than my wisdom. So poor or no introductions, how can we tackle them? How do we make our introductions? It's easy to say you should have great introductions, right? But how do you actually go about getting those great introductions? Short and simple, excellent point. Yes, sir.
A day before, I think you should have a talk with
A day before, have a talk with who?
the speaker, so that to get water, to give a brief introduction, to know about it.
Super. Is it just for the speaker or anyone else?
Anyone?
All the role players.
Role play.
Okay, so which are the role players you need to get an introduction for?
General evaluation.
Okay.
Table
General evaluator, table topics master, speaker, presiding officer. Who needs to introduce who? Presiding officer will introduce the Toastmaster of the day, right? And normally the presidents of any club, even president-elects, are very busy people, right? They won't reach out to you as team only. But make sure you reach out to the presiding officer and give them an introduction of yourself that is relevant to the team. Okay, make their job easier, and also it helps lift you up in the crowd. If you get a rousing introduction, it helps you set off on a good note. So ensure you reach out to the presiding officer, give your introduction of yourself, how you'd like to be introduced, some comments, let them pick up and decide what to use for the introduction. Next, find out the most important role player as TMOD. Who is your most important role player?
Speaker.
Right? They are your customers for the day. Right? You are serving the speakers. The limelight is for the speakers and you are there to serve the speakers, ensure they get good limelight. This is not just the prepared speakers, but the table topic speakers as well. You should ensure that the stage is set for them throughout the course of the meeting. And is your GE a friend or an enemy?
Friend.
How many of you say enemy? Right? Alex? Okay. 3. Why do you say enemy?
Your role will be evaluated by the general evaluator.
General evaluator. Okay, your mistakes will be found out. Yeah? Super. Okay. Aware of who the tag players are. Very good point. Yes?
The best role player can be voted for the future.
That is my favorite point, right? He's a rival for the best role player of the day. Okay. So what I'd recommend is don't view the GE as some examiner or some external entity. Try and work hand in hand with the GE. Okay? Reach out to them at least whenever you're given the role or a week in advance, whichever is earlier. Reach out to them, try and give them the theme of the day. Try and make sure they are following up with the tag team. And also ask them what are the particular points you will be looking at or you intend to look at. So Arun mentioned some very interesting points that a GE has to look out for in a meeting. And each general evaluator does their role differently, right? They might have certain points they're going to look for in the meeting. Their minds, try and find out what points they think are weak in the club and what they're going to look for in that meeting and make sure you address them as TMOD. Work hand in hand, use them as a partner. And what I'd recommend is, since the GE will be engaged at least half as much as you are for the meeting, give them your script. So in case you have this last minute TMOD dropout, you are unavailable for some particular reason, at least someone else has a script of that theme which the other speakers will be speaking on, and they can play the role of the TMOD. So share your script, if not with the GE, with someone else, but preferably with the GE, so that the GE can step in and someone else can then play the role of the GE. So it helps to prepare a script and share it with someone as backup, because this is the most important role for that particular meeting. If you flop, then the whole meeting is very likely to flop. Next, how else can you get great introductions?
We all have WhatsApp accounts and all.
Yeah.
So we can have a WhatsApp group of Toastmasters and we can be in touch with everyone. So we know like this person is good in this. So we can emphasize that on our interactions.
Okay, super. So have a WhatsApp group and communicate with each other regularly. And but what I'd recommend is, aside from what everyone generally knows about the person, have something fresh and interesting about the particular speaker. Right? So we found out that Arun is not happily married today, so that's something that something that brings the audience mood up. You know, have something fresh and interesting that they don't really know. So that sets the mood for the meeting. Yes.
Be regular to meetings.
Be regular to meetings. Excellent point, right? Can you elaborate on why it's important to be regular for meetings?
Because it allows you to know the person, how his speech is, how his appearance is, everything, how he's going with guests or members. So you will come to know first. Because when you say corporate first or whatever,
yes,
you will come from different locations.
Okay.
You won't know anything personal about what they are present in the meeting. So that will help you to know exact interaction and what additional point what you are telling, that you will come to know after knowing the person.
True. Yeah. So I've seen Ganesh before today, right? So he was able to give a quick introduction on the fly about me, even though it was very exaggerated. It served the purpose, right? Because he's been there. So if you go regularly to meetings, you know who's who. You can come up with introductions on the fly, and furthermore, you will feel at ease because you've been in this environment before. So be regular to meetings, and what I'd recommend on this particular point is don't take up the TMOD role too quickly. So suppose you're into your 4th or 5th meeting and you're offered the TMOD role. Respectfully, I would say decline until you have had a chance to play some of the other roles, because this is a role that has a huge impact on the meeting. So you may not be comfortable if you're not aware of how the other roles play, how the role players interact, etc. So what I normally recommend is play the tag team, give a couple of speeches. Evaluate role is not required. Then you can step into the Toastmaster of the Day role. Don't jump into it. It might have a huge negative mindset if it doesn't go really well for you. Okay, so back to introductions. How can you ensure? You mentioned a WhatsApp group, try and collect information, right? What I'd recommend is, I don't know if it's the case with all clubs. Some clubs are really responsive on WhatsApp. Alex is like bombing our medley WhatsApp group, right? But some people are not on WhatsApp at all. You can't find them on WhatsApp. What I recommend as Toastmaster Day, call up the person as soon as you're given the role and you find out the person is the speaker. Why? Because you get the information a lot quicker when you call up the person rather than a WhatsApp message. Second, it sets a relationship with that person. The speaker is less likely to drop out if you call the person than if you send a WhatsApp message. So try and call the person via phone. Yes, yes, Alex.
One of the mistakes that I have seen is people taking advantage of a professional relationship or a personal relationship. For example, if somebody is not comfortable in as a kind of an introduction, we always need to check with the person. I'm going to introduce like you like this. Are you okay with this? Because at a personal level, it might be fine. But in front of all 40 people, you go and introduce a person in a particular way. That person might not like it. So I think we are always talk about communication, but these kind of small things I've seen that people missing it out quite often. So always check with the other person whether it's okay to introduce you like this. So thank you.
Very good point, right? So once you have collected the introduction, you may have some other points you want to add on as well, but ensure that you run the introduction by with that person. So I wasn't expecting this Japanese thing, but since it was a positive note, I took it in a very good way, right? But if he had said that his Japanese was horrible and everyone was laughing, I would have been a bit demoralized. So ensure your job is to lift the speaker up for the audience. What is the objective of any introduction?
To boost the energy.
Energy of who?
Both the speaker and the audience.
Both the speaker and the audience, and also to lift the speaker up in the eyes of the audience.
Right.
Okay, to leave the speaker on a high before they get the stage. That is the purpose of any introduction. So ensure that your introduction, whether it's humorous or factual, serves this particular purpose. Collect it a week in advance. Don't be those people like me who come 20 minutes before the meeting and go disturbing everyone. What is your name? What is this thing, that thing? Try and collect it a week before or as soon as the speaker is appointed. Okay? This is as far as introductions. Any questions? Any other questions on how to get? Yes, sir. Couple, okay.
Like, most of the time, speakers, we have 4 or 5 speakers.
Yes.
There isn't a ritual where the Toastmaster of the Day would ask or introduce the director. He connects with the team of the day. For example, the struggle of his life is the team of the day.
Yeah.
All the 5 speakers will be introduced like in this time, it goes on like that. It
Yes.
sounds a little monotonous. Shouldn't it be somewhat different? Like you said, it should be more insightful that people doesn't know
Okay, yeah.
There's a ceremony going on more than most of the time.
Okay, so very good point, right? Sometimes you have a lot of repetitive things where you know it's going to end, but try and make it a bit different. So one way the theme helps is that it will be something new. If you don't have a theme, you'll just be giving out facts like he works in this company, XY company. But if you have a theme, it's something insightful about the person. Now your point on making it less repetitive, what I'd say is avoid saying, I called up the speaker yesterday and asked him what their worst moment was, and the response was that. That is very monotonous. Instead, just dive into the story. Right? The speaker was working in Sharjah 3 years ago, and on his way to the airport, he couldn't find his passport. Right? Just dive into the story right away. Avoid that filler of how you got the information, etc., etc. All right? Yes.
I'm not sure whether it's apt at this point, but most of the time,
Okay.
people go with prejudice. Like, someone, he has been to division level, he has been to district 82 with the champion. This 100 times people keep hearing it, it becomes a prejudice for them, and it really gives pressure on the participant also.
It really gives?
It's not for nervous actually.
Is it from a contest perspective or from
For the other speakers, for other speakers are introduced like he is so and so, he comes from a district with the big code 82 rather than district 82. Like in a way that it's going to be a competition or something where it creates for a novice who is completely new to the podium.
True. As in, I look at it from both sides, right? So one is, these are all great guys, and I am so this thing, but that's why you need to introduce the other person with an equally humorous or something. Everyone is not on the same level, obviously, right? So when Arun is introduced as division governor, then I might be thinking, oh, I'm only area governor, what am I going to speak about, right? So this mindset, not everyone will have, right? Ensure that you give befitting introduction to each particular person. Let them not worry about what their qualifications are as a speaker. Don't focus the introductions on that particular aspect. So if someone is not an established speaker, focus on something else that is really interesting in there.